If you had told me last year that the new Toyota Prius would be one of the more interesting cars of 2023, I would have probably told you were mad. But in fact, it really is. Because first of all, look at it, it looks pretty great if you ask me, and it has almost double the power of its predecessor. It has more than 100 horsepower more than the 4th generation, making this 5th generation pretty fun to drive. Now today we're finally allowed to drive the new Prius, and in this video I will show you and tell you what's it like to drive this new Prius. And I'm gonna do a tour around the car, so I'm gonna show you the interior and also the exterior. Hey guys, welcome back to the channel and welcome in the all-new 5th generation of the Toyota Prius. The 1st generation of the Prius was launched a long time ago, back in 1997, when I was only a small little kid. But it was only until the 2nd generation of the Prius that the car really became popular, and mostly because of a lot of Hollywood stars that really loved this car. Now obviously after the 2nd generation came the 3rd and the 4th generation, and as you can see here on screen, they look kind of futuristic, but they never really looked cool. And it took until this generation, this 5th generation, that the car looks, well, pretty spectacular if you ask me. Now we're gonna do a tour in a second around the car, but first let's talk a little bit about the specifications on this all new 5th generation Toyota Prius. Now in Europe the car will only come as a plug-in hybrid. Outside of Europe, like in America or in Asia, the car will also come as a regular hybrid, but in Europe you can only get this car with a plug. Now the specifications on this car are pretty decent. Now obviously the car has an electric motor, a regular petrol motor and a battery. The electric motor produces 160 horsepower. The petrol motor is a 2-liter 4-cylinder without a turbo, producing 184 horsepower. So that's also pretty decent. And the battery has a capacity of 13.6 kilowatt hours, giving this car a range of 86 kilometers. Except if you have the big wheels. Now I am driving the car with the bigger wheels, I believe they are 19-inch, and giving this car a range of 96 kilometers, so a little bit less. So if you want to have the optimal range on this car, you have to get the smaller wheels, just like with any other hybrid or electric car, or even a petrol car, to be honest. And so like I said, the petrol engine produces 148 horsepower, the electric motor produces 160 horsepower. The total system output on this car is 223 horsepower, which is actually quite a lot for a Toyota Prius. And actually the previous generation only had a system output of 122 horsepower. So this car has more than 100 horsepower more compared to the previous generation, giving this car a pretty good 0 to 100 time. It will actually do 0 to 100 kilometers or 0 to 62 miles an hour in only 6.4 seconds, which is quite impressive for, again, a Toyota Prius. So the car doesn't only look sporty, it is also actually pretty fast. And the car has a top speed of 180 kilometers an hour. So let's have a look at the exterior design on the car. Let me show you how sporty the car actually is. Let's start a tour around the car here at the front end. As you can see, the front end design is way sportier than on any of the other previous generations of the Prius. And what really stands out are the headlights. These are what Toyota likes to call their hammerhead headlights. And this is not the first model that have these new style of headlights, because also the Aygo X, the CHR, and also the BZ4X, which is the only fully electric car from Toyota that also has the hammerhead headlights. The car doesn't really have a big grille here. There is, however, a small opening between the bonnet here and the front bumper, and down below there's also some ventilation. The car has active shutters, so down below here there are some shutters that will open and close. So if the car needs some extra cooling, they will open, and if the car doesn't need any cooling, they will close. Now this car is a pretty funky looking color. You can get around 8 or 10 colors, I believe, for the Prius. But this yellow color is my favorite. It makes the car look very sporty indeed. You also get some silver trim, some silver finish on the bumper here on the lower part. And there's also some glossy black around the bumper as well. Let's start back on design. What really stands out here are the tail lights, or rather the tail light. Because basically there's only a single tail light, a LED strip that runs all the way from the left to the right and vice versa. At the moment it is white because the car is not turned on, but when the car is running, the LED strip will turn red, obviously. Now Prius is spelled out in full here all over the trunk, and here on the right corner it says PHEV, because this is the plug-in hybrid version. Then let's have a look at the trunk capacity on the all new generation Prius. I'll just press that button, and as you can see, the trunk will automatically open on this particular version. Now trunk capacity has never been amazing in a Toyota Prius because the battery was always located here under the floor of the trunk. But in this new generation, the battery is located under the back seats, giving this car 33 liters of extra trunk capacity. However, trunk capacity is still not amazing in the Prius because you only get 285 liters of storage space, which, yeah, again, is not amazing. However, it is enough for your daily groceries, and I think you can fit like 2 suitcases and maybe a couple of duffel bags. There's no subfloor storage space in the trunk of this plug-in hybrid version of the Prius, but obviously you can fold down the rear seats. Both seats have a lever on top of it, and if you press it, you can fold down the rear seats. And this particular version has a 230 volt outlet, so a household socket, which is really helpful if you want to charge your laptop. Now, as you just have seen, the trunk capacity on this car isn't that amazing, mainly because of the strong sloping roofline, and also because of the strong sloping roofline, the headspace in the backseat area also isn't that amazing. I can still fit there because I'm 1.80 meters, so I'm not super tall, also not super short, I might add, but I barely fit there. If you're only a little bit taller than I am, you're not gonna fit in the back. Legroom is actually surprisingly good because this car has a bigger wheelbase than the previous generation, so you actually have a lot of legroom, which is useless if you're tall, I guess, but for kids it's actually quite a good place to be. You also get 2 USB-C ports in the back, by the way, and there are also 2 USB-C ports here in the front of the car as well, so basically everybody can charge, well, all their devices, all the smartphones and tablets in the world can charge in this car because there are so many charge ports, and there's even a 12 volt outlet here in the back as well, so you can put an adapter in there, so you can actually have like 6 charge ports as well, and like I showed you, there's also a household socket in the back as well, so that's really good on the Prius. Now, the dashboard looks really familiar. It looks a bit like the layout that you get on the Toyota BZ4X, which again is the fully electric car from Toyota. So you get a digital gauge cluster that's actually higher up than the steering wheel. So you have to look over the steering wheel to see the digital gauge cluster. That takes a little bit of getting used to. You need at least an hour to getting used to the fact that you have to look over the steering wheel and that you have to put the steering wheel a little bit lower than you're probably used to. I actually have to have it on the lowest setting, and again, I'm not that tall. I'm not saying this layout isn't working. I kind of like it, but again, it does take a little bit of time to get used to it. Now, in a standard, you get a really big screen. It's like 12-inch, and I've seen this screen before in other Toyota models. There's a lot of compute power here because it's very responsive. It's actually a really nice system to use. You don't have to wait if you're like operating the navigation system, or if you want to open certain menus, it just opens up immediately. There's also a lot of physical buttons down here for the climate controls mostly. So that's basically everything in a nutshell about this all new 5th generation Toyota Prius. If you like this video, don't forget to hit that like button. And if you want to see more videos like this in the future, and I hope you do, hit that subscribe button, and then I'll see you in the next one.